Welcome to On Top of the Covers, a weekly podcast by Orlove, dedicated to all of you amazing people out there that we like to refer to as like the creative visionaries, entrepreneurs, artists, makers, producers, directors, disruptors around the world. I like the word disruptor the most, because it's probably meaning that you're doing it your own way. And in a time where, especially in the arts, there's never been more opportunity, right? And so on the show, we feature a lot of inspirational stories of people contributing to the culture of music. We like to look at how they do it, whether it's creatively or artistically, personally, professionally, through entrepreneurship, through art, whatever it might be, because there's just so many different ways to do it, right? For those that are a bit newer, I'm Matt Gottesman. I'm the host and director of the Orlove brands. You can actually reach out to us at We Are Orlove on all social. You can also reach out to me at Matt Gottesman. I answer every DM, text, reply, response for like the last 8-9 years, and people continue to try me, and we're here. Same with the We Are Orlove brand. We are constantly about community, and within music, we say it's really one of the biggest connectors in the world, right? It's this common bond that we're all sharing, and so we like to open up the conversations around the art, its contributors, and their missions. And we definitely love showing unconventional ways and different paths to success, because success is a very arbitrary word. It's different for every person. So we like to actually have guests talk about what that looks like for them while they're actually in it, right? So without further ado, we're going to dive right in. And we've got another incredible guest. I've been waiting to have him on the show. Sofiane Seddiki, founder of Throne Music. And, just a real quick bio, and then we're going to just jump right into it. But musician, he formed this Throne Music back in 2019. It's a multi-faceted company, basically offering publishing, label services, management, and expanded its international operations last year. And told Music Week, he took a leap of faith, having spotted an opportunity amidst the crisis of the pandemic. And he said, we operate mainly in urban music in France. It's allowed them to meet success and conclude several licensing deals and distribution deals with major companies in France. And then in 2020, during a period where many had to think about stopping their activities, I decided to develop mine, to realize my dream and to open my label in the United States, which I loved the moment I read this. I've always said, regardless of last year, moments that make us reflect also make us move forward. So I loved reading this in his bio, because I'm thinking, we gave him, reflection and perspective of like, what do I do next? Like, is this the time? Yeah, this is the time. So he's also a former session drummer and musical director. He's worked with the likes of Liam Payne, Ellie Goulding, Rita Ora, as well as major French artists such as Gims and Julien Doré. And he's also founding member of synth pop alt band The Black Mordia, who signed to Throne Music. And he has gone on to support rock giants, including Kiss and Nickelback. And I love this other quote. He said, I had to manage the band and learn about the whole business. So I decided to open my own label because I love the development process and creative process. Something that I have been preaching to people for a very long time is that if you get into the nitty gritty of all the details, ultimately you'll have a better understanding of like how you want to form it and create it sort of on your own, especially since we've never had more resources to do so. He took his inspirations for Throne Music from powerhouse labels such as Motown Records, Def Jam, Interscope, and LaFace, and along with the newer power players, including 300 Entertainment and Quality Control. And with Throne continue to go from strength to strength, it surely won't be long before he's inspiring others. I personally think he's already doing so. Man, I appreciate you being here. Thank you for coming on the show.
Matt, it's an honor. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. So I mentioned before the show, we're going to get a lot into your background, going from musician to entrepreneur.
Sure.
It's really the whole, to your point, you're an entrepreneur the whole way when you're an artist and you're carving out your own path. That's just, I think, something that every artist in any type of art is going to have to realize at some point, because you're going to have to manage it, right? And we'll get into your background. But before we do, so we do the rapid fire questions usually in the beginning. We like to be different. Absolutely. So,
perfect.
So if you're ready, we can dive right into those.
Yeah. I'm definitely ready, man.
All right. Amazing. All right. So number one, if all music is gone and you can only save 3 albums to listen to for the rest of your life, what would they be? Oh, wow.
That's a tough question.
I know.
That's a tough question. I would say Thriller by Michael Jackson. Can't live without this album.
Right. Nobody can.
Let's say the Black Album from Metallica. Another great album, a different gender, but very influential. Um, and let's say the White Album from the Beatles.
Mm. What a great mix.
Yeah,
An
yeah.
absolute great mix. And you know what, I also like that you picked 3 different genres to like, vibe to, because like if you knew this was the last 3 that you could listen to, they all got like a different kind of, you know what I mean? Like a different kind of flow for what you need.
And you know what? I've been listening to those albums all my life.
Yeah,
actually.
Exactly.
And you know what? I guess those albums are going to be there forever. I mean, it doesn't make me a genius to say that because, those albums are been there for 50, 30, 40 years. But I guess those type of artists aren't going anywhere,
right.
You know?
They're very transcendent of time. And I feel like the albums we can listen to over and over again, no matter how many years go by, those are the ones that are coming with us,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So question 2, sometimes related to question 1, if you intertwine them a little bit, name an influential person, living or non-living, that if you can interact with for one night, who would they be? And when I stress this, living or non-living, they could be like Leonardo da Vinci. They could be as far back in history, Marcus Aurelius. They could be whoever, or they could be somebody present, or they could be one of your people from your from your music from the first 3. But it's whoever you want.
That's a good question. I think it will be Quincy Jones.
Oof.
Because you know what? He did everything. He touched every gender of music, whatever, if it's, jazz, bebop, rock, funk, pop, everything. I think he's one of the most influential people of the 20th century, for sure.
Yeah, I've read so much of his bio and background in his books, and it's a whole other level of play for him because it's coming from the soul when he's that's
absolutely
why, right? That's why he hears differently, and it's never only stuck to one time, in history. It's always
never
present. Yeah, he's always moving.
Present.
Yeah,
and it's been like 6 decades.
Yeah,
yeah. Who can say that?
Right. Always present. And so he's always hearing in a way that a lot of people, hopefully can one day, but normally can't. And so that's what makes him so special.
Everyone is working
on
this, right? But it's definitely, I guess it's a gift that he had from God, for sure. And I guess that everyone in the industry is probably looking at him, I mean, all the time. Whatever, if you're an artist, an executive, both, maybe a fashion designer, he's one of the greatest.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's a mentor, an unknowing mentor to so many people, whether they know it or not, whether he knows it or not, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so question 3, in your opinion, what's the best music-focused film of all time for you? When I say music, it can be like a documentary. It can be a rockumentary. It could be a fictitious film. It could be a music-focused film, but it's like music's just kind of, like Pulp Fiction, where it's like adjacent to it. It's not really, it could be anything you want, but music seems to be somewhere at its core. It's, complementary. What would it be for you?
I would have to give you 2 answers.
Yes.
The first one will be Dreamgirls.
Mm-hmm. Great movie.
The movie with Beyonce, Jamie Foxx.
Motown.
Great movie. Yeah. And inspired by Motown. Berry Gordy. Very well made. I guess it's a DreamWorks movie. David Geffen, Steven Spielberg company. I think it's one of the greatest movie of all time. And my second answer would be The Defiant Ones.
Yes.
Because you know what? It's the perfect example of, what we want to talk about today. It's about art. It's about entrepreneurship. It's about going forward. It's about, wake up and, do things.
Yeah. Defiant Ones for me is one of my favorites as well. If not, that was the top of my list. It's an amazing journey documenting 2 very unique individuals who end up creating such an amazing friendship and partnership and belief in each other when the rest of the world is like, why would you do that? And it's like, that's a perfect storm. you know, this will never work. Well, watch me, right?
And that's my point. I guess it's a great documentary for everyone. Even if you're not in the music business,
right?
It's a great documentary. They've touched lots of industry,
yes,
music, technology. Jimmy Iovine is working now at Apple. The story is great.
Yeah. And you made a good point. Like, they touch so many different industries and culture. And I love that they always challenge each other. Sort of like, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should, or should we? And they kind of have this like, no, if we're going to do, like, even when Jimmy Iovine like challenges Dre on, doing a product, and he's like, I don't want to do a shoe. Everybody's doing a shoe. I don't want to do a shoe. And he's like,
yeah,
headphones. And then he goes, I could do that. And he goes, all right. And then he walks off, and then the next morning it's
know,
yeah,
it's the biggest headphone company in the world. So
right. Yeah.
I guess those people are very driven, you know?
Yes.
And that's what I like about this documentary.
Yeah. And with purpose,
Absolutely.
Last question, then we'll get right into your background, but an important book, podcast, anything that helps you navigate your creativity and passion, or like something that you've read or listened to repeatedly, you're like, this just gets me, inspired or amped up.
When I first heard about the Clive Davis book,
yes, mm-hmm.
The Soundtrack of My Life, I was blown away. Gives me the to dream, for real.
Mm-hmm.
This book is incredible. From Whitney Houston to Janis Joplin, Earth, Wind & Fire, Alicia Keys. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible. Same thing, more than 6 decades.
Yes. Completely transcends time.
Absolutely.
And he's another one where he always remained present and never got caught up in just staying to a specific era. He always kept developing too.
Even at this point.
Yeah.
Even at this point.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
I guess he's now 90 years old or something like this.
Yeah. Same with Quincy.
What is going on with this guy? You can't stop him. And that's great.
Yeah. And I feel like purpose also allows them to just kind of keep going, right? It's sort of like, because, their minds can't stop, and they're forever a creator in their right mind. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
So I wanted to ask, we're going to jump kind of right into it. And you've got a very amazing background, and you can go as far back as you want. This is the only question that's really ever the same outside of our rapid fire questions, but like, how do we get to today? You've now got, you're operating in multiple places with Throne Music, but like, you can go as far back, like, to you being 5 and playing an instrument for, whatever it might be. Yeah. I don't know, whatever it might be. But like, how did we get here? Like, and you can kind of, tell us, the high level overview, if you will, but I'd love for the audience to know, the journey.
Sure. So I first started music, I was 3 years old, 3 years old. My parents always being music lovers, always music at home, concerts. So they first brought me a little piano and a little drum, and the journey started there. I've been passionate about music for my whole life. I wasn't the guy who was playing video games or anything. Everything was about music. It wasn't about my friends, wasn't about school, wasn't about anything, it was about music. So it kind of started like this. And then I remember I was 12 and I was like, I'm bored with the school already. I need to do something. So I was going out, I was, watching shows, and I was asking myself questions. Who is promoting the show? Who's promoting the record? Who is owning the radio? Why this? Why that? So, I started my professional journey by asking questions, by being ambitious, go meet people. So when I was 14, I decided to form my band, the Black Mordia. Everything started there because when you don't have a manager, a record company, you don't know about anything. You just have to do it yourself, because you know what? I was not going to wait anything from anyone, I guess. So my point was, let's do everything ourselves. So we got to be good at it. So I got to learn the music business. I got to learn how to perform, how to create visual, marketing, promotion, every aspect of it, and that was probably the most interesting experience in my life, because, I was so young, I was learning every day, even if we were playing a little show in a bar in France, I was learning, because in my head, I was like, one day we're going to be able to play, big shows. And I remember I was telling my bandmates, one day we are going to open for Kiss, everyone was laughing, but I was not. I was very serious about it. And you know what? 4 years later, I wasn't even 18 years old. I get a call from a promoter in Spain who was like, we got this big tour in July. It's Kiss. Do you guys want to play? I was like, are you kidding, man? Of course I want. So we did that. We did lots of big shows, big tours, and we are actually now working on our first album, which will come out next year. And from this experience, I learned that I was able to make things happen. So I started to help artists in France, and I became kind of a deal maker, kind of a manager. I was the go-to guy if you wanted to have a record deal, a publishing deal, whatever. So I learned the business there. And then when I understood the machine behind the business, I was like, man, I'm not going to be a deal maker in that way forever. I can create my own company and do it myself, because what is a record company? It's kind of a bank, they are going to promote the record. They have, expertise, lots of contacts and everything. But now we are in 2021. We have TikTok, we have Apple Music, we have Spotify. You can definitely do it yourself if you're ready to put in the work, and that's what is happening. Lots of artists have been independent for many, many years, but now it's kind of getting big, Every major company is becoming now a distributor, because every big artist understands the business. So they want to start their own company. And that's what I did.
There's a lot in there that you said that I want to really touch on real quick that I think is so important. Yeah, the record labels were like the banks.
But they own the record. That's the crazy thing about it. It's a bank, but they own the record once you pay back the advance.
Yeah, that's exactly why I was saying I agree with you 100%. So the bank says, give me all of your talent or all of your money, and we'll use it to make a whole bunch of money, and then we'll give you back this much, which if you watch my story, you probably know. So that was a great analogy, even though I know it can be used in several different ways. There's nothing wrong with record labels. I just like the new idea.
Nothing wrong.
Yeah. I like the idea of the labels that were started by musicians historically in the past, and now all of them being started by musicians in the present, make for a different knowing and understanding. When you know the path and the intricacies of all the details of like doing multiple things, having an entrepreneurial route, you also come with empathy and an understanding of, hey, how can I help others and make a win-win?
Absolutely.
When you enter into the business solely for the business and the money, from the business side of the record label side, it's like, oh, we'll just follow formulas. We'll just, regurgitate all the same things. We'll just do all. And it's like, no, you're missing the very essence of what the whole like art and soul of it is. Like you can have both, you can monetize, but I firmly believe that if the artist, musician, entrepreneur makes the label, it's going to have a different path.
Absolutely.
Right.
And that's why all the greatest labels were started by creative people.
Yes.
You know, Berry Gordy was a songwriter. You know, Quincy Jones, we don't need to introduce him again.
Right.
Lots of labels,
Yeah.
We are created by people, and those are the labels that really matters. Def Jam by Rick Rubin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, oof. And that right there too, it's, when you were also talking about, hey, I didn't want to wait to learn it or wait on anybody. Like, okay, we'll learn how to perform. I'll learn how to create visuals, marketing, promotion, every aspect of it. The only way you can really master anything and really pay respect to the whole totality of something of a passion is to like get in the garage of it and do all the work
and doing it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's a different level of respect. I also think it's a form of self-love. It's like,
absolutely. You definitely have to have confidence in yourself and be able to have a vision, because when you start something, from nothing, of course you're going to mess up, but it doesn't matter. You're going to get better at it, and that's what I did.
There was another part in your background that I liked. We're like, hey, we're going to open up for KISS one day. And I felt as though when you probably said that, and you know how you were saying, yeah, everyone was laughing like, oh, there's a difference when you have people say who kind of do it from a hope. I felt like you did it from a knowing, like
absolutely,
like a channeled, vision of like, oh yeah, no, I just know it, You know
what? Because we were working to do it. Lots of people are talking about things, I want to do this, I want to do that. Everyone have great ideas, but are those people willing to do the work? We were, so we did.
Yeah. I love it. And I feel like something in your intuition and gut was like, I just know. Like it isn't really a non-negotiable, or it isn't a negotiable. I know, like it's going to, happen. And I think, right, when we stay close to our truth, our passion, we have absolutely these visions that they don't have to be explainable to anybody, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And you know what? Even at this day, it's very complicated to explain how we did it, Yeah. We just worked a lot, did small shows, then bigger shows, then play, with bigger bands like Nickelback and things like this. Once you able to get in that type of, level, it's easier to get the opportunity to open for one of the biggest bands in the world, We didn't do 100-person shows and KISS the next day, It took us several years of work, struggles, of course, but, it doesn't matter.
No. And you brought up another great point right there, which is like, I feel like people, if they get too stuck, I think it's good to have a vision, but if they're too stuck in the future versus like, let me get present in the things that lead up to that and just do the work. You need both. And when you start executing and doing the things, something happens and it molds and shapes, and it also gets you in the game. And if you are really in the game and you're playing it and you build the platform around you to have its essence, its vibe, it's easier to go when you have a platform. It's easier to go to other people with platforms and be like, you want to talk? Like, you want to have an exchange like about platforms? It's like, yeah, what are you doing over there? Like, oh, we got this over here. You want to like do that over here? Like it allows for, I think doing the work is a connecting vibe to other people doing the work. Be like, oh, I see you. I like how you're doing that. Like, it's a lot of work, isn't it? Like, it is a lot of work. I see what you're doing for years. Like, you're incredible. And it has a mutual respect that allows the players to kind of like form that camaraderie. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I think that if you want to be successful, in every type of industry, you need to be inspired by what you do and find mentors, even if you don't know them, because, it will be too easy to say, I don't know Steve Jobs, so I'm not inspired. I don't know Quincy Jones, so I'm not, we have internet, we have books, we have everything we need to be inspired. It's free, it's easy. Don't find any excuses. You can do it for sure. If you really want to do it, you have an internet connection, man, you can do it.
So true. In this day and age, and we're gonna use that to transition to like this new era of music. We do have those resources have opened up like limitless possibilities.
Absolutely.
Right. There'll be people that they'll reach out and like, oh, I love your account. And I said, I thank you. And I'm doing the exact same thing they are. I'm like, listen, there's people I'm following and I'm like, God, I love what they're doing. Like I'm really feeling it. And I'll spread their work the way my work is being spread. And it's funny, like you got this kind of long chain, but I always like, I like relating to my audience and saying like, hey, I'm with you. I'm like, here's some other cool people. Like, you like my stuff? Check these people out. This is who like some of my, mentors
Absolutely.
are, right? I got in-person mentors, and then I've got mentors that don't know that they're my mentors that exemplify.
And that's the great thing about your platform. Actually, you give people a way to have access to lots of different people who have lots of different background. That's the beauty of 2021.
Right? To that exact point, this new era, I would love for you to expand on what you believe, both what we're experiencing now with artists and their ability to carve their path in this new era, and also where you see it going. It's something I'm very passionate about. I'm a huge blockchain Web3 enthusiast. So like for me, watching what artists are doing, once I saw what the artists in art world were doing, and then I was like, man, I can't wait to see the musicians take this on. And then when they started that this year, because I was watching NFTs last year, very minimal, and then this year watching a couple of the musicians start, I was like, yes, you get it, like get them, like just redefine the whole industry. So I'd love to hear you just how your mind is really just seeing things all around, from the platforms we have to where we're heading and everything, in between.
Sure. I think there is two different paths possible for artists, because independence is great, but it's not for everyone. That's the first thing. I don't have anything against big record companies, but I'm just saying that if you are a Jay-Z kind of person, a PDD kind of person, a Lil Wayne kind of person, great for you, go independent. But if you're not, you will probably need a big record company behind you, providing you materials, songwriters, and producers. There is two different type of artists. Some artists are able to do all those things for themselves, and some of them aren't. It doesn't mean you can be great. Whitney Houston was not independent. She's one of the greatest. Same thing with lots of the major artists. So I guess you will definitely have to think about, are you willing to create a company? Do you have the knowledge to do it? And if you don't, are you willing to work to have this knowledge to be independent? Because it's a lot of things that you got to do when you first started. You got to be able to perform, to sing well, maybe dance, being out there, promoting yourself. It's a lot. Not everyone is able to do everything at the same time. So I definitely think that the major record labels are going to stay for a long time anyway, not in the same way, because lots of artists are able to create their company, have internet, watch your podcast, and do their things on their own. But some of them are not, and I guess it's completely fine,
I like that analogy a lot. I definitely see what you mean about having two paths, because there's the entrepreneur and then there's the intrapreneur, right? They talk about intrapreneurs inside companies that they're like, I want to do these specific things, but for like I need a whole supporting background. I don't want to necessarily be at the forefront creating it. I want to be in it and contributing. Absolutely. I agree, and my hope is that over time we produce more Jay-Z's, which I've followed his entire career. Genius. I'm talking about since 96. Yeah. I've even gone on long road trips where I'm listening from start to finish every album, and I'm like, genius. Like you can hear the blueprint. But
yeah,
I would hope for more. And the reason why I say that is because there's also this kind of where you create the label with your people and you mold and shape it, because we are also moving into a newer paradigm where all these things are merging. Like it's not just blockchain and tech. It's also like now a newer understanding of finance, not old finance, new finance, and art and commerce and fashion. And it's like this whole blend.
Everything is coming together.
Yeah. And if the education was different at the very, very early, onslaught of children, and they were able to kind of see more of like the self-worth side, and then B, the like kind of like how all the components fit together, they might, think about it differently of like, in terms of a leadership of like, hey, yeah, I can't go at it alone, but let me at least be at the forefront of forming it, just so that way I can also bring in other people around me and know how to get other people around me for the things that I'm already kind of familiar with. Like, right, we can't delegate what we don't understand. And so I guess I guess I like that idea of more of like the route that you took, just because business gets tricky and distribution gets tricky and finances get tricky, and everyone.
That's why you have to be honest with yourself.
Let's talk about that.
And know where you suck at, basically.
Yeah.
Because some people, are great at accountings or whatever. Some people are great on visuals, marketing. You have to know what you're great about and what you're not, so you can have people around yourself who can help you build, that company, that you want, actually.
I love that. And as somebody once said to me, they're like, oh, well, I'm not good at that. I'm like, but have you tried it? And they're like, no. And I'm like, get back to me when you've tried it. Because they would assume, well, and to your exact point, how do you know what you're good at, what you're not good at, unless you kind of dive into it? So like, let's say, a person dives into the accounting, like, oh, I hate doing all the books. I'm like, yeah, but you know the terminology now, right? And they're like, oh, yeah. And I'm like, and you don't really like that because it creeps into your creativity, right? They're like, yeah. And I'm like, but I bet you know how to hire it for it now, because now you can say, hey, I'm stuck with, I don't understand this, and this. I mean, I know it, but this is what you do specifically for your talent. Now I can be clear on what I want as a need, because I know from like messing with that accounting, being like, okay, I need my books done like this. I need you to show me this. You can ask for what you need.
Absolutely.
From knowing what you're not good at.
You definitely have to understand a little bit of everything.
There it is.
Because some people love to say, I don't understand anything about anything, so I'm just going to have people doing it. It's not exactly like this. You need people around you who can actually being kind of additional forces. But if you are an entrepreneur, you definitely need to understand about a little bit of everything, even if it's not your thing. If you're not educated on this, it's easy to get, a little bit of education on accountings or whatever the case is.
You're 100% right. And for anybody listening, for context, just picture it this way. If you know a little enough to be quote unquote dangerous, right? But like if you know a little, you know what to ask for. If you know nothing, you don't know.
You're out of business.
You don't know what the person you're like, let's say like, I don't like to do this stuff. I'll just hire this accountant. He'll just do it. And you're like, or she'll just do it. Like, well, how are you going to check their work? Or how are you going to ask questions? Or they could be taking you for money, which is exactly what happens in business,
Many times, it's the case,
Right.
And once you figure out, it's too late. and you've lost probably millions or whatever. So yeah, I guess it's very, very important for everyone to know a little bit about everything, even if it's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy, but if you want to do it, you definitely have to understand the basics of everything.
Yeah. I once heard, I think I might have brought this up on one of the other podcasts, I don't remember, but I once heard Dr. Dre talk about creativity in business. And he was saying, he said something, I'm paraphrasing, but he said something like, do I like the business? No. He's like, did I have to learn it? Yeah. Because
absolutely.
Right? Because he was like, if I don't, then I can't manage my creativity. And out of respect for the creativity, in order to manage it, you have to understand business. And if you understand business and you're able to profit from it, you can then expand the creativity to do more. And it's that respect as creators. We do have the ability to apply that creative brain to wanting to understand all the other facets that go into the world in which we create, right?
Absolutely. And again, it's the music business.
Yeah.
Some people love to think that it's only music. It's the music business. People are here to sell records, make music and make a living. Mm-hmm. Actually, that's the thing. So if you want to make a living doing music, you got to understand the music business. You can't just say, hey, I'm doing great music and that's all. I don't want to understand anything about promotion, marketing, deadlines. It's just not going to work. All the greats are genius about everything. If we think about Michael Jackson, he was able to have the vision for the music video, for the sound, for the staging, for the design of the clothes, for everything, So you definitely have to, work on every aspect of your career.
So true. And, one of the things I was just thinking about with the changing landscape, and I've adapted, I've been part of the whole social media world for a very long time, so I get it. The shifting emphasis on numbers as well too, right? Because, and I get it, there's certain parts of the machine that, have already been established, and like streams and how many millions and millions of streams you need to get to even make it account to much. But numbers have changed in general, and a few seem to be picking up on this pretty fast, and I wanted to get your take. And for example, when I've talked with artists about like NFTs, and, I was explaining to one artist, I was telling him like, well, could you imagine with like only, let's say you only have 40,000 followers and 5,000 of them want to buy your upcoming album, the art attached to the album, the photography, and maybe some, and the lyrics for each song and all this other stuff. And they pay $150, 5,000 artists or 5,000 people buy that NFT at $150. You just made $750,000. And he was like, it's a good point. I'm like, absolutely. Yeah, it's a different, I was like, we've as a culture in the past have looked at like the numbers had to get bigger and bigger because the margins were getting smaller and smaller. And the pie splitting was getting larger and larger and larger. But in this new creator economy, we can actually minimize a lot of the, the tasks and the admin and the
absolutely
right. So I'd love to get your take on all that of what's happening.
For me, the real thing about the numbers, people are getting too focused sometimes on the numbers. They're like, I want to have 1 million followers, but on that 1 million followers, how many engagement you have.
Yes.
That's the point, If you have 10,000 followers, you have 8,000 people interacting with you. That's great. If you have 1 million followers and only have, let's say, 10,000 people and working and interacting with you, it's a mess. Actually, you need to understand that numbers are good, but it's the engagement behind.
Always that engagement. I'm so grateful you brought that up. Is everything, because like and
everything.
And sometimes I'll see I don't care if you're at 1 million followers, if they're real, but I want you responding at least for the first 5 to 10 minutes to every single person on that. And some people might say, oh, they're too busy, they're crazy. I'm like, then don't have an audience. I don't know what to tell you. Like that's the whole point, is that, just like in life, how we treat people, it's the circle, it's the community that we create around the art. They're supporting you. And in that engagement is ultimately, and unless of course sometimes they don't have real engagement, and that's also an issue, right? So they have the look of it, but they don't have the real engagement. And it's like, that's why I had a greater respect. I've always loved underground music since like birth, but like, I had a greater respect as I was coming up online for underground music. And I'm like, so this is how it works. Like, you've got like your 1,000 people that follow you, your 5,000, your 20,000, your 100,000, your 150,000. I'm like, so that's kind of like how it feels when you're, every step of the way, you see the people who were down since the beginning, and and you realize the community that forms around it and how much love and support that they have for you.
That's everything.
It's everything, right? Without them, you didn't really have.
That's the core of what you have.
Yeah. The engagement is absolutely right. And I think that if the engagement's there, the beauty of where we're heading allows for so much more possibility, without
absolutely
the stress and pressure sometimes for this performance of more. It can become better, like in terms of, engagement and quality,
absolutely,
right? And lifestyle instead of just running yourself into the ground, right?
Yeah, everything.
Yeah. What do you recommend for like artists as, you're an artist, you're an entrepreneur, you're a marketer, you're a publisher, you're a multi-hyphenate really in a lot of ways, multifaceted. And so what do you recommend for like artists that, yes, they can choose between two paths, but maybe there's some consistent things that no matter what, they've got to be thinking about, like, hey, look into all of these things or follow, like, have an understanding of these things. If you could give advice, what would it be on some of this stuff from like, kind of at least get into partially think like an entrepreneur if they're not already
basics, doing it. Right.
Yeah. Yep.
The first thing will be release some music. Just do it.
Nice.
Go out there. You have the ability to be on the social media distributor and get your music out for like, $10 or something. Do this, learn your audience, work on this, work on your music. That's the first thing, because if you don't do that, no one is going to reach out to you and be like, hey, you're incredible. Here's the check for $1 million. It's just not going to happen. All the big artists who explode were posting videos, covers, pictures. You got to go out there. If you're not going out there, it's just not going to happen, right? So you got to go out there, work on your craft, make relationships. That's the second thing. You have Instagram, you have LinkedIn, you have everything. Go find some people, maybe other artists, maybe it's going to be managers, producers, songwriters, everything, just network. That's very, very important, because you never know. Maybe one guy on Instagram is going to check your story, hear your song, and be like, wow, that's amazing. I want to offer you, a record deal or a tour or whatever the case might be. And that's the beauty of social media. I guess now it's way easier back then, because, people had to go at the record company, have the vinyl, the CD, give it to the right person. It's a lot of work. It's expensive. Now you can do it for free, Sure, there is more competition, more people, more artists, but it's still a great, great chance. So I guess that will be the two main things, go out there and make relationship.
And so well put, in a social networking world, social network, it's like putting stuff out there and building up your body of work while interacting with people at its simplest form. I tell people, I'm like, just reach out to people. I'm like, be respectful, be on your game.
Absolutely.
Not everybody might have the same heart as you. That's, no expectations, just kind of like, just reach
Absolutely.
out. You can see you'll see how people's behavior will kind of tell you what you need to know. But for the most part, it's very simple. And the thing is, some people say, oh, I DM'd so-and-so, but they never, like, they saw it, but they never did anything. I'm like, they saw you. They saw you.
Yeah.
I was like, they went to your page too. They went to your page and they're like, huh. And I'm like, don't think for a second they didn't. That's your demo. When it says seen and maybe they didn't respond, and by the way, they didn't respond for any number of reasons that you are not aware of. Busy, they've got life going on, all like they have to come back to it. You got to stay like at your core, highly like,
and be ready for rejection at any point, because maybe he's going to respond. Maybe he's going to say, I'm sorry, it's not for me.
Yeah.
You get and continue to do it, whatever the case is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And second thing, if it's relevant enough, people are going to find it. Believe me, there is hundreds and hundreds of people working at major labels, independent record companies like us, or A&Rs, managers, or anything. Those people are searching 24/7 for new artists, but they want to see great numbers, but also great artists. They want to see a great music video, a great song. That's the only thing that matters. In the music business, it's all about the song. You can do whatever you want. It's all about the song. So work on your song. Pay attention to how you present yourself. Do a great picture for the cover. Make sure that the sound of the song is great. Pay attention to the mixing, to the mastering, to every step of the song, and then people are going to be like, wow, this kid is incredible, but if you don't, it's complicated, because there's lots of artists, lots of people learning how to mix, how to produce song, and there's lots of talented people out there. So you got to work hard.
Yeah. And you bring up, again, some more really great points, with I was taking a couple of notes about how when somebody says, sorry, it's not for me, it's really a blessing in a lot of ways, because, well, one, you got to appreciate the honesty, but two, sometimes I've been in the game long enough. So patience, after a while, you start to learn, you start to learn after a while, you're like, oh man, I really lucked out that didn't work out. For all kinds of reasons, just some different direction, different growth, different, ended up not really aligning, or ended up sometimes even they get into other kinds of trouble that you're like, oh, I'm glad that didn't work out, whatever.
Absolutely.
Whatever it might be. And so I think it allows us to stay humble and gives us a little bit of humility, while at the same time, who you are for is your audience, and your audience kind of is the balance between what you're trying to figure out and that you're carving, and who is for you. And that data allows us to kind of be like, this is my crew. This is what I constantly grow. And this is my community and my people. And it kind of sometimes forces you back into like, oh, I guess I don't really need approval from these people. If I got the audience, it's like, well, that's a first. Yeah. And then you can create.
Exactly.
Right.
And if you have the audience, you have the fans.
Yep.
You have everything to do well.
Yeah. If you have the audience, you have a business.
Absolutely.
So,
and if you're able to understand that, what you're going to do, you're going to put a tour together. Maybe it's going to be small clubs, but who cares? You got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And if you have an audience, a strong audience, that's the best thing you can have to be discovered by an A&R or anyone in the industry.
Yeah. To your point about putting on a tour. So any artist is listening, let's say you got like 10,000 diehard, fans that are following you. I'd reach out to them either individually through the DM or on a post on the wall. Be like, hey guys, like drop me your favorite music that makes you think me of them or something like that. Right. Boom.
Yeah.
You've just done R&D right on your own wall, research and development right there. And then they can give a whole bunch of people And you could even say independent or majors. You could take those same people and go out to other people and say, hey guys, so like I did a post on my wall and about 1,000 people answered. And they seem to think that we would be a great fit. You're an independent artist. I'm an independent artist. I'm trying to put a tour together. Would you be interested? Oh, here's, by the way, the screenshots of all the people who kept saying your name over and over and over again. Like that's, that. And
then you have a plan.
Absolutely. Now you have a plan, So it's stuff like that I feel like in order to think like that, I always tell everybody, I'm like, have humility just to ask, just to be be a genuine
absolutely
student of your work. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Just ask. Don't be afraid. You have nothing to lose, actually.
Yeah. What do you guys have coming up right now? Like anything exciting that you guys want to share?
Yeah, we are actually working on the music video for Diamond King, our new artist or first artist on Throne Music, the US company. She's actually amazing. Everyone is getting excited. We shot a video in Bel Air a few days ago, so we are now editing and stuff. It's going to be a big music video. I'm very excited about it. We are working on tons of stuff for her, tours, radios, big stuff. Yeah, that's very exciting.
That's incredible. Where can everybody find you online, whether it's you, the label, artists, everything you're doing, or just a catch-all, anything, websites? What's the best way people can find you?
Absolutely. We have definitely the website, which is called thronemusicend.com, right? We have Instagram. So I have Instagram. The company has Instagram. Diamond King has Instagram. We also just signed a great artist called Kawai. He's amazing. He's from the Netherlands. He's having, great success, in Europe, Latin America, Asia. It's a new adventure. I'm very excited about it.
I love that you're bringing so much international talent in, while still keeping it as at a global feel, as a label, versus just saying hey, I'm trying to break into the US. And I used to always say to people back in the day, I'm like, yeah, I mean, I get it because it's a big market. I was like, but maybe it's more of bringing the US into the globe. You know what I mean? Because
exactly.
People used to always say they're huh. And I'm like, well, I mean, in the grand scheme of music is a collective global phenom. And I was like, sometimes you see these artists where they're selling tens of millions or hundreds of millions, outside of the US, and they get in the US, which, I get can have an eclectic taste. I always like the idea of I like what you were doing. It's hey, I want the US to know more about these incredible artists from other places who are playing on a global scale. And that's awesome. So
that's very important for us, because music is a language, especially now. We have the social media. You have access to everyone at the same time. That's a blessing. So, I've always been inspired by many types of artists, whatever, if it's rap music, Latin music, Arabic music, French music. So it's in our DNA, to have different type of artists in our label.
So true. This was incredible, Sofiane.
It was great.
Yeah, I can't even believe it. We're at an hour. It always goes so fast. Yeah,
crazy.
I love everything that you guys are trying to do, and I really appreciate you coming on and sharing. Yeah, I mean, I think it's
thank you for having me, man. It's my pleasure.
Yeah, I think it's so important for people to kind of see the work side of it and be like, hey,
absolutely.
It's not, and that you're having fun with it. I think that sometimes people will go
absolutely. Every day.
Right? They feel like it's a lot of work. I'm like, well, yeah, but I don't know. I mean, if you were really wanting to, let's say there's just a car that you absolutely love. And what about getting under the hood and understanding every certain aspect of it? Just really respecting the thing that you love the most. Right?
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
I love it. So everybody can go to thronemusicent.com, thronemusicent.com.
Absolutely.
They can find you, Diamond King, Throne Music, all online as well. But if they go to Throw Music Ents, they'll get everything. They'll be able to find everything that they need right from there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Perfect. I know it's always great to have a catch-all. I appreciate everything you're doing, man. And, I'm looking forward to staying connected and watching the journey.
Me too, man.
Participating in the journey,
Absolutely, man. And you know what? We are connected on Instagram. So yeah, we're going to, keep going. And yeah, I'm very blessed. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. For everybody listening, Sofiane Seddiki, check him out online, but throwmusicent.com. You'll get everything that you need there. We love supporting the come up. So you gotta and these guys are doing really cool things. So
thank you so much, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Kick back for 1 second. But for everybody listening, thank you for tuning in to On Top of the Covers. It means a lot to the movement, to the contribution of music culture. We love the feedback too, by the way, and the 5-star reviews. Thank you. Please keep them coming. That always means a lot to us. If you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple or iHeart or Google, you can watch this right now on our YouTube channel, Orlove Entertainment, Orlove. You'll be able to connect with us there. You can watch, you can comment. We answer those as well too. And you can also reach out to us, as I mentioned earlier, at We Are Orlove or at Matt Gottesman. We will answer you. We're very, very proactive in doing so. And so, we appreciate each and every one of you guys, and we're out.